Hello, Ethan. Welcome to the Architectural Technology Podcast.
Hello, Jonathan. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good. This is episode number 15. Recently, in episode 8, we talked about the transferable skills that an architect learns between one CAD program and another.
Yes, we did.
And we also, I think, touched on the ability that in previous podcasts where you learn how to become an architect or a designer in New Zealand, you can transfer those skills to another country.
Yeah.
But what about transferring those skills to another profession?
That's interesting. We could have a lot of transferable skills. Yeah, be quite interesting topic.
Because I
Let's
think
talk about it.
one of the things that used to come up when we were interviewing students would be, why should I do this course? What if AI takes over my profession? What skills am I going to learn? They're going to be long-term skills. And I think that when we teach architectural technology, when someone goes to work in an architectural office, there's a lot of soft skills that they learn, which are easily transferable to other professions. So one of the things that I've noticed is, for example, I used to teach Vectorworks at Te Papa Museum of New Zealand. And it was easy for me to transfer the architectural skills that I had to the exhibit design skills. If you're doing walkthroughs, thinking about the design. So it's easy once you've learned to control or once you've learned to follow that process of design, it's easy then to transfer that skill into another profession like set design or exhibit design, because you're looking at what are we trying to achieve? What do we want to do? I've got my 3D visualization. We're going to think about how people are going to relate to the exhibits, what they're going to see when they come in the door, how we're going to structure the exhibit so that people will actually learn in a flow system. So, because quite often, one of the things I think we learn, which is really beneficial, is that we start with a house design. We have a thought. We've got this rather complex project to deal with. And when you think of a house, it is complex. We've got electrical, we've got plumbing, we've got to keep the water out, we've got different materials, we've got the interaction of materials. And so we start by thinking about how the big volume, we then break that down into chunks. We start thinking about how things relate to each other. We start thinking about the way the client's going to flow through the building. We imagine all of this in our head. And then you start to say, okay, I've got a different profession. I'm going to go into set design, or I'm going to go into exhibit design at Te Papa. Okay, what things are the same? Thinking about the design, thinking about the brief we're going to do. I think the one I helped on was Mayan architecture. We're going to think about what we're going to do with that. We need to tell a story. So you can use all of those skills that you've learned and start to build that as a design. And then you've got this complex design that's now got complex information in it. So we need to present each item. We need to keep a list of what that item is. We need to look at the historical context of that information. So then we can start breaking that down. So you can go all the way from the overall design down to the detailed drawings of the construction of the exhibit objects. And so I can see that as a great, easy translation between your skills as a designer into exhibit design.
Okay, so that's the designing aspect. Obviously, it's easier from architectural designers to the exhibit designer. What about other transferable skills which are not design related?
There was a lot of design related skills I thought and professions that we could move to. So we could just rattle them off. So one of them would be landscape design. You need to upskill with the knowledge of horticulture and sites, but some of that we would still know. Set design is quite different, but over the years I've met lots of set designers and there's a lot of transferable skills, but you do need to acquire a lot of knowledge. So set designers have a large knowledge of lighting, the light sources, how the lights are going, because in partly they actually design with light. And the set design is actually showing some of that historical context often, but of course, in order for the sets to move easily, quite often they're quite flat. So you might paint the scene rather than model the scene. Okay, so those are my designy type ones. Oh, kitchen design's another one. You could move into the idea of kitchen design or millwork design, designing that stuff.
Yeah, interior design.
Interior design would be another one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So let's move away from design. So what sort of skills did we learn that we could transfer to something else? And I thought of research and synthesis of information. We've learned how to do research. We've learned how to understand what we're reading. We've learned how to transfer that to whatever we need to. Normally, you and I would have learned to do that and transfer that knowledge into our designs.
Yeah.
but it's still a skill that where you've learned how to research, you've learned how to present that information. So you've learned some of those skills like, is it sales, marketing? I was really
Yeah.
thinking about presentation skills. So you've had to present yourself, you've learned how to present your designs.
Yeah.
So you could easily go into a profession where you needed to present some information, research, synthesis, presentation. So there must be lots of office jobs that you could do where you could reuse that information.
So that's presentation skills. What about professions? Professional skills or professionalism?
I was going to say that the profession of architecture, particularly when I learnt in England, was
Yeah.
very much about acting as a professional, being scrupulously honest,
Yeah.
having people trust your word. If you go to a building site and you have a discussion with the contractor and you say to the contractor, okay, I agree, I'll have to issue a variation on that. And then you go back to the client and say, look, I have to issue a variation. He says, no, don't. So I have to because I promised. And it is a variation. Under the definition of this contract, it is. And there's that problem which we tried to get around with 3910, where
Yeah.
the contract administrator is acting in this quasi-judicial way between two parties, trying
Few
to be
points.
honest between two parties. And the idea of 3910 was really to split that into two roles, which it still has the
Well,
same problem.
let's see. It's in 2026 already, so we can see how the people are using it, so we can get the feedback. I think we have enough time to get the feedback from the industry.
So then you can start to use some of your architectural skills, maybe upskilling your diploma into contract management, contract supervision, that kind of thing. So you could stay in the architectural profession, move to another part of the profession.
Yeah.
You couldn't easily transfer to a quantity survey because there are so many skills that you would need to relearn. But so I'm thinking about upskilling rather than completely retraining for a lot of that stuff.
Mhm.
There's some famous architects that are actually painters,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure
Yes.
they're transferring their architectural skills or whether they were just super, super talented anyway. So maybe we should discount those. So you know that I've written training manuals for my
Yeah, you
CAD
do.
program.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so were there any skills that I could use from my architectural training to help me to write those rather complex manuals? So these manuals were 300 pages long. They often had 800 to 1,000 images in them.
Yeah.
So if you think about producing a set of architectural documents, we got a big thing that we want to do, the project. We need to think about how we're going to divide that project into manageable chunks. And then we need to communicate our ideas to the contractor each step of the way. In architecture, we use details. So we start off with the site plan. We've got the overall thing that we're going to get to in the end. And we need to have a series of communication, or we use drawings in architecture,
Yep.
but you're still trying to communicate each step of the way what you want to have happen. We start with the big issues. We gradually focus onto the details and the components and the schedules. So did I take some of those skills in order to write the manuals? And I think I did. And so it didn't strike me straight away that I was using my knowledge or my skills as an architect to do that.
Yeah.
But I think when I look back, I'm pretty sure that was another area that I went to where my
See.
skills were transferable.
So, all right. So there are professions from architectural technicians to other professions are transferable. So there are a few things you learn from the classrooms and along the way of your professions, and then you can, if you want to move it to another professions, that's okay. Sometimes you may agree, and sometimes you may need to up skills to fit, or sometimes you need to get a licensing requirement. So you must go attend the classes. That's unavoidable anyway. But for example, like the fundamental like research, we can do that. And what can we do? Like what you mentioned, presentation skills. Yes, present yourself, present the data, present the models, everything, the personality, the sales, and professionalism. Yes, that's very important skills that we can transfer. So that's really good.
But the other skill I haven't mentioned is, of course, being able to research the historic and social context of the buildings that we're studying
I
and
think,
being able to use that in different
yeah,
professions. Ethan, let's say, for example, you wanted to retrain as, I don't know, real estate agent.
Salesperson.
I was just thinking,
Yeah.
if you wanted to retrain as a real estate agent, would you be able to bring some of your skills from the architectural side
Yeah,
into
we
how
can.
to describe the house?
Yeah, we can. I can tell about that. For example, currently my house is near to the ocean. That's why, because since it is near to the oceans, it's warmer because the climate from the oceans is helping the house warmer. And also it's a populated area. So, the heat has been reflected. So it's near compared to those near to the mountains or inland area. The climate is much better. And also that's for the climate. And also we get those skills like we learn this is the place where the boats lands and where Wellington started developing. We can talk about history. And after the history, we can also talk about the material of this house. Yeah, that's a lot of skills we can talk about that and explain to the potential buyer. And if I do, and also, for example, architectural styles of that time and all the renovations done. Yep, I can easily do it by just a glance. Okay, when I look at the buildings and I can tell a lot of story of the
You
building.
can say, "Hey, that's a bungalow. This
Yeah,
is from
yeah,
the 30s, and it's based on
yeah,
from a Californian bungalow style." You could
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
that. But the
yeah.
other thing that you could talk about is if you were a real estate agent and you were trying to sell a house, you could also tell the client not just what the house is, but what its possibilities are.
Yeah. And we also learn the building was a district plans requirements so that they can know. Yeah. So I know a lot of things.
Yeah. So again, I think that there's a lot of skills that you've got that we both have, that architects have, that you can easily
Yep.
transfer to other professions. And I think that if a student's looking at the Diploma of Architectural Technology and they're thinking, I saw a video on Claude the other day where Claude was able to take a plan and generate a 3D model in SketchUp,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a worry. But on the other hand, it may not have been your design that you were thinking of. So you still need
Oh,
to learn SketchUp to adjust that model.
the other day, my friend from Singapore sent a message and with a video link, and it's basically from Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, and he was talking about what should I say? The AI will not replace people. AI will not replace you. The people who is using AI will replace you.
Yeah, what a great way to put it. So
AI
you still
will not
need to have
replace.
that idea. You still need to be able to design that building in your mind in order to get SketchUp. I really like that expression of yours where you say
Yep.
you're not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by people who know how to use AI.
Yep.
But anyway,
Yep.
back to the transferable skills. I think that the idea that you've done a diploma in, or you've done a 5-year degree in architecture, and that you're worried that you're not going to be able to transfer your skills, I think that's wrong. I think you're going to be able to transfer your skills readily to lots of different areas of design,
Yep.
but also to lots of different areas that you may not have thought of. You might be passionate about selling houses. Your knowledge from architectural technology is going to really help you to sell that house because not only will you be able to know all of the building codes, know what the possibilities that are, but you could also start to help the client imagine what that house is going to be like once they've moved in and made either alterations to it or laying out of furniture in it. And that could make the huge difference between selling that project and not selling it.
Yep. That's important. I think we should wrap up for today, shall we?
Yeah, have you got a good thing to say for wrapping it
No,
up?
no, not much.
I,
I
s-
think.
I saw the other day images. So real estate agents are now taking photographs of the inside of the house and
Oh, yeah, that's what
and they're
you're
getting
doing.
AI to to lay the furniture out.
I did also because I'm not very happy about my living room, so I took a photo of it and I asked AI to do renovations and suggest me some of the furnitures that I want to furnitures to do a certain type of styles, and the AI research. Not AI asked me the budget, so AI researched all the furnitures and all the curtains and lining curtains and everything and then they study from Bunnings, all the quotations, and then okay, if your budget is this much, you can do this kind of styles, and the total cost is this.
So is that a skill that you could say was a transferable skill between architectural technology or
Exactly.
design and sales?
Emerging technologies,
Mm.
skills.
All right. Yeah, I think, Ethan, you're right. It's time to wrap it up.
So I would say complete your diploma, complete your degree, whatever you learn is transferable.
Thanks, Ethan. What a great way to put it. All right. See you
Okay.
later.
See you later and see you next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe our Spotify channel. And don't forget to comment.
True. Goodbye, Ethan.
Goodbye.